I was like, people were queer for their buckets, and I took pictures of everybody's buckets. I was like, this bucket cost a guy like $25,000. You know? This guy found his bucket in a trash can.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
Oh, we're rolling.
You didn't know we were rolling, did you?
Yeah.
We're rolling. That's what we do. We sneak right up on you when you're not looking.
So I'm supposed to tell something about
no. Queer.
He's gonna
It's okay.
What?
Just fucking with you.
Yeah, I'm queer. So what?
We're back.
What do you got?
Double D did.
What's the problem?
I'm just giving him a hard
They
time.
probably don't know me. I'm Double D. I run the Seducer.
He's gonna introduce you.
Oh.
We bring you on. You are the guest. You don't have to introduce yourself.
But I don't have to now.
Yeah.
I want you to do it. Tell everybody who he is.
Well, we're back. What's today's episode?
It is 3.13.
3.13.
Season 3, episode 13. We're legit, dude.
Oh, damn.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah.
Me and the internet are not.
It's okay. It's what you got us for. We're about to blow you up. At least 30 or 40 people will watch you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Might
Perfect.
get a charter. You never know. Well, yeah. And Donnie we've exhausted all the inshore stuff, because how much can you talk about speckled trout and cobia? So
we always say
Donnie's
say
leaning
that
on me now to get the.
We always say we're going to talk about them, but we actually never talk about them.
So we got today David Daniels, Oregon Inlet veteran,
Double D,
also known as Double D, or Rare Tan,
Or Rare Tan.
or Rare Tan.
2 double Ds. You don't get it, do you?
Oh yeah,
Flying right over your head.
Yeah, 2 double Ds. Yep.
Yeah.
But this is the OG Double D. You're just Donnie.
Good.
Because Donnie's fun. I mean, you're Donnie, like Big Lebowski Donnie. Like, that's what makes your name fun.
Not many people can get that reference.
Well,
I get it.
Then they're out of their element.
Yeah. Misguided Fishing Podcast, supported by TW's Bait and Tackle, Captain Frank's Hot Dogs and Fine Sandwiches, Ballastol, Multi-Purpose Lubricant, and Outer Banks Distilling, purveyors of Kill Devil Rum. And now, Misguided. Dave, did you instruct Dave how he's going to lead the show off?
Yeah. So, first thing, Double D, before you can say anything, you have to tell
Before
us
you can do this, you have to humble yourself.
Okay. So an embarrassing story.
Unless you got something that humbles you that's not embarrassing.
So I was.
Oh yeah, and don't beat on the table.
I was fishing down there in Ocracoke for 3 years, and I came up to Oregon Inlet. I'm gonna fish with the big boys, and I had some jobs. I think I started fishing with trying to think who the first fish might have been. Billy Baum, and then I fished with him for like 3 months, and then I got some freelance jobs, and I think Richie Howe wanted to take the day off, and I think Monty was going to run his boat, and so they had a freelance captain and they had a freelance mate, and
Which was you.
that was me. And they had these fancy, this is like 25 years ago, they had those fancy fiberglass gaffs, and they were beautiful, back in the hand wrapped. They were like $300 a piece back in the day. I mean, now you can buy them production $100, but so we hooked some big tunas, and so I'm in the mindset, I just listen to the captain. I trust the captain. What he says, I do it. And the fish is down there digging deep as shit, and he's like, stick it. And I'm thinking, holy fuck. I reach the gaff down deep in the water. I smoke him. And of course, Sam Stokes says, never let go of the gaff. I want to see the whites of your tennis shoes, but I'm not that strong of a guy. And I lost the gaff, lost the fish. All right, so this is where it really starts to get embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing right there.
That's not.
It's everybody's looking at you.
That's not.
You turn around and look.
That's not shit.
Everybody's just looking at you. That's not embarrassing.
They got some more of these fiberglass wrapped beautiful gaffs, and we get more tunas on. And Monty's up there, stick him. I reach that thing down in there deep and smoke another one, and he rips it out of my hand. That one's gone. And I'm like, I just want to go home. And so, like, they got one more gaff, and I managed to lose that too. And I'm up there in the back.
So you're 0 for 3.
I'm 0 for, well, we might have caught some fish.
But you've got 3 gaffs.
I've lost 3.
You've got 3 gaffs sticking in this fish now.
No. These
3
are,
different fish.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm losing shit.
So
Gaffs.
you never, when you gaffed a fish, you lost a gaff. You probably lost
the fish. Everything. String breaks gone. Fish gaff. Everything's gone. Do that 3 times. I'm up there in the V berth looking for a gaff. I find one that's about 4 feet long. It's perfect. I can't reach that very deep into the water. We get the rest of our fish. We get back to the dock, and I can't remember who the mate was, but I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I lost all your gaffs. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, those were like custom gaffs, And I just want to crawl under a rock,
You're thinking your freelance career's done.
Oh, yeah.
My phone's growing dry.
0. But, I mean, the one thing about Oregon Inlet is you just got to be down there, and you just stay down there, and
eventually your time comes.
And after a while, I thought I was a top shot mate, and then luckily I was able to get my boat, and now I'm just.
I think it was longer than 25 years ago, because he doesn't know this. The first time I met Double D is right when I'd gotten back from Guatemala. He had just come up from Ocracoke, and we took jobs piloting parasail boats.
Oh, yeah.
That's
embarrassing.
No, your story is not as embarrassing as mine from parasail, because my job parasailing was when, in April, we ran over the crab pot behind Jockey's Ridge, and the people came down from 1,400 feet in the air screaming.
Oh, yeah.
And landed in the water. And not only did I have to go out and get them out of the water, trudged like 60-degree water behind Jockey's Ridge, then I had to sit in the water and cut out the crab pot out of the inboard-outboard prop to just get home. Last day running.
Yes.
They'd
I lasted a week. I was like, there is no way I'm doing this. Is dangerous.
They were trying to sell us on, man, we're going to take you to Florida. You're going to make so much money doing this. I lasted one day. He lasted a week. Then we were on the porch. Looking for work. You never knew that story, did you?
No, I didn't. That's pretty.
That's
cool.
how I met Double D.
We don't see the parasailers around here as much as we used to.
Because there's fucking crab pots everywhere. Somebody's going to die. I mean, they come down with parachute on top of their and land in the water screaming.
Well, your story is another good lesson when gaffing a tuna is like, you ain't got to pop his head every time, but make sure he's close.
Right. And I mean, it's like, in my
mind, reach down in the water and get him all day long.
I was just trusting the captain knew, but like a captain, I'm the captain now, and I'm always like, stick 'em. I'm saying stick 'em way before you should really stick 'em, because I want to fish in the boat. So, there's got to be that pause between where the captain says you should get him and the time when you're actually doing it. Now, I don't say anything to my mates when they're gaffing a fish. I let them manage.
Unless it's really bad and you're like, all right, come on now.
Well,
will you gaff that
really
thing?
Come on. I mean, you got set the bar pretty high, losing 3 gaffs in one day, though. If they can go bigger than 3 gaffs, then you can call them up on the bridge and say, let's have a talk.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story, man. Good job. That's a good story. What do you have to add? Do you have anything to add? Nothing.
He's never lost a gaff. That's why.
He's been
plenty. I don't know if
he's been doing this since day one.
I used to lose I would leave the gaff on the covering board and pick it up.
That doesn't count if it falls.
Yeah, so I mean, I've lost many that have fallen over, but I don't think I've ever lost one in a fish.
Yeah.
But Dickie always was like, pop his head, like get his head, and then which I didn't always do. Big tuna, slow day. You don't want to just go all cowboy on the damn things, but if you get them just right in the head, they'll keep coming. But if you reach down, usually that water's going to pull the gaff back, and you're going to get him in the middle. Yeah, and he's going to go no. Adios. And
that caliber of fish, it wasn't going to let.
Yeah, those big yellowfins. No, it ain't good.
So you just gave people instruction on how to gaff a fish, because we talk about fishing, but we don't teach anybody anything about fishing.
Yeah, that was my small piece of advice.
Because as I told you on the way over here, I actually tried to watch some other people's podcasts that teach you, and I got really bored.
Yeah. Well, lead the fish a little bit ahead, because the momentum of the water is going to carry your gaff back, and then right about the eyeball, pull it on up nice and easy. And
all right, well, don't blow your wad, because if this is going to be our new thing where we actually try to teach somebody, I don't want to, because I'll blow my wad in 2 minutes. I don't have a lot of talk about.
So what I want to talk to Double D about is, okay, so you came to freelance and then you bought your boat, but there was one point where you worked
for Benji York for 3 years too.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a loud.
Poor me.
That was a loud boat.
3 whole
was
years
a loud
too.
boat. That's a funny way of putting it.
Yeah.
In exhaust loud or in captain loud or in
Benji,
in boat?
could be really loud.
Yeah.
Still can.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's got some good stories. We'll have Benji on one time. It would be a funny one.
Yeah, that'll be like one that you get like, what does it go viral? You get like people share it to other people.
Okay, so all right, so you were a mate and then you got a boat, but at one point you were working with Hathaway.
Yeah. All right, so I got my boat and it had a 1271 in it.
That's a motor.
That's a motor. It's a Detroit motor, and I wanted to repower. And I asked Jeff, I said, could you help me? I want to do a lot of the work myself. So
Jeff Hathaway, or down here, in case somebody knows, he's known as Dr. Detroit is what they used to call him, right? Hell of a great, one of the best mechanics to ever live.
And so he would give me a list to do, and I would go to his shop at like 12 o'clock, and I was like, all right, I got all that done. I said, what's next? And he would go down there and he'd look and he'd be like, okay. And so he'd give me another list, and he didn't tell me this until later, but he's like, yeah, I thought that would take you at least all day. And so
you had a knack for it.
Yeah, I guess. And then he was thinking I wasn't going to be able to get some of that stuff done. He just,
right.
And so I was able to get some things done. So he asked me, he said, when you're not fishing, you want to work with me some. So I worked with him for 6 or 7 years. I've done probably 25 repowers, rebuilt some motors in the boat. And that's back in I actually helped him build the Boom a Doom, and my dad was an engineer at the shipyard, and my dad actually kind of like went over the design of it. And
what's the Boom a Doom?
The Boom a Doom is something that you hook to a crane, and it's just basically a long steel beam with weights on one end and with a crane holding it in the middle, and you hook a motor to the one end, and you then slide the weights back until it becomes level, and then the crane picks it up a little bit and you can slide the motor right out of the boat. Before, you'd have to have A-frames, and you'd lift it and slide it, and set it down, and then you move the A-frames a little bit, and you would just up and down, and it would take like probably 2 days to get 2 motors out. And that's busting your ass.
Yeah.
With the Boom a Doom, we can come in there, and now he's got it down to an art. He can probably come in there and within an hour and a half have 2 motors out of the boat.
Yeah,
wow.
he did mine, and it was like, 30 minutes.
So y'all were responsible for getting that going? The Boom a Doom?
Well, Jeff is the one. I don't know if he saw it somewhere else and then made his own. And but yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, that's a time saver.
But yeah,
you'll see it every day in Wanchese. Everybody. It's not cheap because you got to hire the crane and you got to hire the Boom a Doom. But it would probably, if you hired people to do it, it'd probably cost you about the same over 2 days later.
That's about the same.
I mean?
But the advantage is if it's going to cost you the same, it only takes him an hour instead of 2 days, and that means
and it's
that's
probably a lot safer too.
In and out too, because then you put the thing back in. It's going to take another day to get it back in the boat. Where with the Boom a Doom, it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you got a rebuild to do, and they can break that thing down in the shop 4 or 5 days and rebuild it, your downtime could be 2 a week. Whereas if you were A-framing that stuff in and out, you wouldn't take it out of the boat, and then you would try to do it in the boat rebuild, and that takes more time, costs more money.
And now Caterpillar, they're not really into. Used to be the grungy mechanic would come down and rebuild your motor in the boat and everything like that. They ain't doing that anymore. They take the motor out and bring it to me.
Dave Crum is standing on the shop floor where he's most comfortable, and he's got all his tools. He can do the best job with it in the shop. It's just
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know any of this. So how's that changed? So it's changed from where you guys used to do the work in the boat if possible. Guys would pull the heads off the boat.
Yeah.
But now guys are just pulling the motor and
just
putting it in the back of a truck, taking it to a shop.
Yep.
And how's it different? What's the industry standard in motor? Is there an industry standard offshore?
Like what motor?
What motor are most guys use?
C18 probably, right? I mean, for overall.
I mean, C18 is a common motor for us. I guess the C12.
Is that a Caterpillar?
Yeah.
Yes. Pretty much everybody in our fleet has a Caterpillar.
Okay. I didn't know that. I remember.
So there's a 3412, and that's 1,000 horsepower. And it's old school, has a large block, and
best motor ever.
Best motor ever. You can get 30,000 hours out of that motor.
And that's a Detroit?
No, that's a Cat.
Okay.
And then you can rebuild it and you get another 30,000 out of it. Nowadays, I mean, if you get 10,000 hours out of a motor these days, that's a good motor.
That's interesting because in our game, I was talking about this with Aaron Kelly yesterday. I blew my first motor outboard and first in business with 800 hours.
Right.
Blew my second outboard with 1,200 hours.
Right.
Now I'm getting over 5,000 on everything. Everybody's getting 5,000 hours unless you really are dumb and forget to put oil in it or something.
Right.
So our game has gone where longevity.
Yours are getting better.
Yours are
worse.
Yeah, but I mean, ours have tripled in price over the last.
Well, and I guess
what I can tell you the reason for it. There's a couple of reasons, but the displacement of the motor, they want them lighter. So basically, they're taking a block that should be 800 horsepower and they're producing 1,200 horsepower with it, and that's why they just.
I got you. Yeah.
Whereas the 3412, like our C18s have six cylinders.
Yes.
Right? And the 3412s, old 3412s have 12 cylinders.
Yeah, and the 3412 weighs probably 1,500 to 2,000 pounds more than ours. We have 1,150 horsepower. That's a 1,000 horsepower motor. It's just basically.
It's just a workhorse.
Yeah.
Ours are built to go a little faster, I guess.
But I mean, that same block then has been souped up like Dickey's motor.
Dickey's like 1,200 or 1,300 horsepower, right?
E or something.
Yeah.
It's 1,400 horsepower, and it still holds.
He got 28,000 hours out of his last rebuild, I think. But because he's got 1,400 horsepower, he can run that thing at very low RPMs.
Yeah,
because he's got a light boat.
Right.
So the less fuel. What Crum told me was the less. It's not so much about hours as it is fuel through the motor.
Yeah.
Because the more fuel you put through the motor, the harder you're running the motor, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, none of it makes sense to me because I'm completely oblivious to anything you're talking about. That's why I said you are running this show. And we said we're getting Dave because you told me Dave's the guy that you call before you call the guy.
Yeah.
Like the other day, was he able to fix your problem the other day?
Well, he figured out what my problem was, but they brought down the manual pump. To do it all like kosher because those little pumps on the side of the motor suck.
But he figured it out.
Yeah.
Before you called the guy, you called this guy.
He knew what the problem was. He said,
"That's cool.
It's not your
fuel.
You're
airlocked."
He said, "It's not your fuel pump, dumbass. You're just airlocked. You'll be fine." So I was worried. Another thing that I always call Double D for is for my motor alignment, and that's something that you don't have to deal with on your outboards either.
Everybody, I do fish sometimes too.
See, dude.
Yeah, but we talk about fishing all the time. So explain to me, because I don't even really, the motor alignment basically is, so we've got a motor, we've got a shaft.
Yeah.
And then the shaft goes out and the shaft goes out of the boat and holds the propeller, which the motor turns, right?
Right.
So you line up my motor to tell, what do you do when you line up the motor?
All right, so the shaft comes from the bottom of the boat where the propeller is into the boat onto a thing called a coupling. And that coupling has a face on it. And on the transmission, we call it gear, has a coupling on it with a face on it. And those two faces have to align up perfectly. So to make, if there was a gap on the top, you would have to raise the front of the motor to close that gap. So you take a feeler gauge, and I usually go all the way down to 300 thousandths
of an inch.
Of an inch. It's almost thinner than a hair of a human, and you stick it in there, and you can feel it. And if it's loose here, and you can feel it tight right there, and you just move the motor around until it lines up perfect.
How do you move a motor around?
Well, I mean,
you just told me how big they are and how much they weigh. So how do you move it to
the way the mounts are nowadays? It's super easy. It's like a metal post, a threaded metal post, and it's got a nut on the bottom and a nut on the top. You loosen that top nut, and then you can just turn the nut on the bottom and raise the motor, or you can turn it to lower that mount, so you can adjust it with a wrench.
All right.
Yeah.
What about left to right? Does the motor ever have to come left to right?
You can take a 2x4 and you can kind of wiggle, squeeze. If that doesn't do it,
A little leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can stick a 2x4 in there and take like a pry bar where there's not much room and really get some leverage.
And I can feel it in my boat. Like I remember last year, one day, I called you on the phone one morning because I'd asked him to line me up, and he got around to line me up, and I called him the next morning. I didn't know he'd been down there. I called you the next day. I said, "Did you get down here and line the motor up?" He said, "Why?" I said, "Because it's smooth, and you can feel that your motor when it's out of alignment versus when it's in alignment, because that shaft, I guess, just isn't turning just right, as far as, being lined up perfectly with your gear." Kind of interesting.
I can't remember in the past, 4 years I've been doing this shit, ever feeling dumber on here than I feel right now.
Oh,
thank you. More ignorant.
You're getting an education today,
More
Don.
ignorant.
poor Aaron Kelly. I was riding home one day and he waves at me, and he had a mechanic down there, and he couldn't get it lined up. And I popped my head down in there, and I'm like, all right, well, let me look. And I'll put the feeler gauge on it. And I think that he was a new mechanic, or he really hadn't done any alignments. And shoot, I've been with Jeff for 6 or 7 years, and we did all these repowers. Every repower's got to get aligned. So you've got to go real easy. Like when you try to slide a motor sideways, you'll move it, and then it'll be off this way. It's like you got to pry it, and you got to kind of move it without it looking like it moved. Right. And I went down there and I tweaked it this way and I tweaked it that way. I put the feeler gauge around there. I was down there about 10 minutes. I was like, she's perfect. Nail it. And they're all scratching their heads.
You send him on his way. Now he's catching blue marlins without riggers, dredges. Anyway, my head's exploding. I got to take a break. Come back with a trivia question. Okay. You got a trivia question?
I still don't know what a trivia question is.
We'll get you straight during the break. All right, we got go to our sponsors. We have a sponsor. Are you aware of it?
A couple of them.
We do. We got more than I keep up with now. 2Ws. Really good to us. Ballastall.
Yep.
Captain Frank selling some hot dogs on here.
Selling some dogs. Big gift card giveaways every week. So people have been getting some gift cards, I guess. You've been sending some gift cards out.
Yeah, I'm up to date on all the gifts.
All right, good.
All the winners.
Good stuff.
Anyway, be right back.
All right, sounds good.
Misguided Fishing. Check it out. TW's got everything you need to catch all the fishes. The rods, the reels, string, baits, from all the guys that make that stuff. Shimano, Daiwa, Penn, St. Croix, Yoseria, Meat Hawk, etc., etc., etc. You want to look fly when you're doing all that catching? They got you covered with gear from Salty Crew, Pelagic, Extra Tough, and more. You got questions? Ask away. TW's is staffed by people who fish every chance they get. They got their finger on the pulse of Outer Banks fishing. I haven't even scratched the surface of this place. It's like a toy store for grown-ups. So check out TW's Bait and Tackle in Nags Head, the Outer Banks' largest tackle shop. Milepost 10. You think we know dogs? We don't know dogs. Captain Frank's? Yep, that Captain Frank's, the iconic hot dog restaurant on the Outer Banks, knows dogs. There is nobody else that comes close. Captain Frank's has been a local landmark since 1975. That's like 350 years in dog years. They have over 15 styles of hot dogs on the menu. If the dog isn't on the menu, they can make it. If you've had enough dogs this week, try the fried chicken sandwich, homemade chili, or chili cheese fries. If you go hungry, don't look at me. Captain Frank's Hot Dogs, Milepost 4.5 in Kitty Hawk. They know dogs. And now, back to Misguided Fishing.
All right, we're back.
We're back with Double D.
Yeah, baby.
You know what's the best thing about this so far is that you haven't spoken hardly at all.
Oh,
you haven't had a chance to tell us how great your fishing was in Costa Rica, how many you caught, how many you saw, what you did. It's not about you, brother.
I was a tower guy.
It's not about you. All right, it's trivia time. First one, You got a trivia question? A question. You have a question to ask people so they can win something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's a trivia question.
So, you can guess on how much I got paid for my highest price bluefin. I've been doing it since 99.
Wow. So, most money Dave's ever got for bluefin from the fish house. Get closest one, send it to me. You know how it works. Get you a giveaway from TW's, either a gift certificate or a rod, whatever you want, plus the Ballast All gift pack.
That's a pretty good one.
Now, I mean, we'll give away some numbers too, because like
Don't.
the last
There's no hints.
the last 1,200 pounds I had on the market, that was like 3 years ago. That's when I said I was never, after I got my checks, I was not going to go out there and catch fish for them people anymore. I got $3 across the board. So if I caught a 400-pound fish at $3, that's $1,200.
It's not even Dave's pay.
So guess more than that.
You gave him a hint.
I gave my
It's
hint.
more than $1,200.
More than 1,200.
All right. I don't have anything. You got one?
I got one.
All right. This is Captain Frank's $50 worth of hot dogs.
Yeah, this is
$50 gift card from Captain Frank's. You don't get it.
Oh, I don't get
you
to
don't
guess?
you don't get to guess either.
Yeah, I guess you.
I've got my friends are asking me, "Hey man, can you hook me up with the Captain Frank's gift card?"
Yeah.
No, dude, you got to win. You got to win.
Question. Can't do Harvey like that.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so I been in Costa Rica last 2 weeks.
So we've heard.
As you know. Up in my new position as tower guy.
Did you know he's not allowed on the boat anymore? They put him up in the tower.
Oh, yeah.
So he can't. They don't.
Well, they still can hear him. He's got the headset.
Even without the headset. They
Yeah,
can hear him.
actually, it's my job now that I'm the one that talks. Okay, here he is,
Because
right flat. Okay, he's coming on you.
You
All
never
right,
get
ease
tired
it back
of
a little bit. Already. Okay, swallowed it. Go ahead and lock it
Do
up.
they have a mute button where they can mute you?
No, they can't
No.
mute me. No, I can mute myself, but they can't mute me.
All right.
Always got to remember to hit the mute button when you go down to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, make sure you hit it and then make sure you turn back on when you come back up.
All right, come on. Give me a
Okay,
question.
so we fished, I want to say 10 days. How many sailfish did we catch in those 10 days?
Wow, that's a good question.
That would be my question. Fishing was
Do
pretty
I
good.
get to give a guess?
No.
You don't get to guess. You get a.
I mean,
I'll give
doing
you
the math in my
I'll give you a
head.
hat. I'll give you a Captain Frank's hat. Or a T-shirt. He gave me some stuff to give away to guess.
Well, I mean, you got to remember he was fishing with John Bellis, right?
He is fishing with John Bayless.
Oh, yeah.
It was good fishing.
Okay,
Well,
so that's
And good fishing.
that's your hint. It was good fishing.
It was. Yep, it was good
Stop
fishing.
there. All right.
Yeah.
So let's.
So let's get on to wintertime right now. We're in the dead of winter, the dog days
dude.
of winter.
Blowing 30 out of the north today.
Blowing 30 out
Got
of the
gray.
north today.
Got gray.
Whole week looks like
45 degrees.
Yep.
Blowing 30. Gray. Just.
Yep. But we're still catching some fish.
Yeah.
And
Who is?
well, we have
Nobody caught any today.
Who's we? Let's just-
the offshore guys, us two, me and Double D.
The guy's trying to catch a bluefin.
Yeah, so there was a pretty good showing of yellowfins over the last week or so, and you've got the jiggers and the poppers coming soon,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Next
and
couple weeks.
some trolling trips too. So,
Okay.
Tell me about the jiggers and the poppers.
Yeah, this is right up your alley, Donnie.
It would be if you left at noon.
This
Yeah.
this is well.
This has gotten to be the thing to do.
It is
catching
so
bluefins.
awesome. Okay, so you can get a bite better doing the jigging and the popping than you actually can trolling around with ballyhoo or green stick or how we regularly fish. But the problem is the tackle these guys are using is like spinning rods and these little open face reels. They're about this big.
Yeah. I know
But
what you-
they're like $2,000 a piece or something
Yeah,
for the
ridiculous.
reel. And so it makes it a super challenging. And they don't use any fighting belts.
Ooh.
They just hold it. I've seen a couple of guys almost get pulled out the back of the boat when they hook them. And
Are they using 40 pounds of drag on a
they're
spinning reel?
using 50
Oh,
to start with. And then when they get the fish close, they just lock it all the way down. It's like everything.
So it's pretty easy as a cat. I mean, overall, because basically all you have to do, you got to drive around and you're looking at your machine all day, like we do anyway. But you get the mark.
Yeah.
You tell
But
you're not rigging any baits. You're not using any of your stuff. They bring their own stuff and they have a jig, and you say, okay, there they are, 150 feet, and they drop down. Right.
But I mean, to see some of these popper bites,
Yeah.
I mean, As far as you can cast, you think about that. And how far is that? 200 feet?
We go a little further. Probably
250 feet. I mean, it's heavy line and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's
they
right.
can't go
Yeah,
so
you're not
far.
using.
And I mean, they're jigging that thing in, and that 600-pounder comes up there and just skies on this popper. It's just like it's right there.
I didn't know. We started seeing that last year, or I started doing that last year. Throwing, I gotta pimp them because they're coming on board. Nomad started using some Nomad big poppers, like called the Chug North. Chug North.
Yeah.
They're like this big, and I was using them jack fishing, and I was finding that I was getting more bites and able to get the fish come up by throwing these things and chugging. Even if I couldn't hook them, guys could hook them, I'd like to do the bait and switch on my rig, I tease them, and then they can drop a bait to them. Are you seeing the same thing when you're throwing the poppers? Are you seeing the bite or the bait or the fish come up in the water column?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's my point.
Come out of the water.
Yeah, but they're coming where you're marking them initially down deep.
Oh, yeah.
Then we start throwing the poppers, and you watch them on the machine start to come up. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yes.
And if they're not coming up, then
you get them on the jig.
Just like amberjack, you drop a jig down, right?
Yeah, we drop some other stuff down.
Same kind of deal. Or live. I mean, these guys obviously aren't into live bait.
No, but we started using other baits instead of a straight jig. Started using some other stuff last year.
Right. Yeah. Secret stuff.
Well, not really secret. Just some other squid rigs and stuff like that, man. Octopus rigs. Just different kind of different shapes.
Well, all right. So when I first got around, and when I was like, no lures, we're using ballyhoo. I was one of the first people to put a green stick on my boat. It's just because my brother was sitting there one day and he's like, what's that guy doing? I'm like, he's commercial fishing. He's like, why does he keep stopping? I'm like, well, he's using a green stick. He's commercial fishing. He's like, you ought to have one. We're not catching shit. So I got one. Of course, it didn't go very well over with some of the people.
Why is that? Not as sporty as they wanted?
The other captains said it wasn't sporty, but at the same time, they didn't want to spend the money to get one.
Okay.
They didn't have one. Of course, they don't have one and you have one, you're catching fish and they're not, then they're mad at you.
I understand.
Even if you were doing it the same way and you're catching fish and they're not, they're mad at you.
Yeah, we see the same thing. Yeah. We can catch just as many sight fishing, but that's not fair. You have a tower.
Right.
Or
it would be you're sight fishing for a cobia and the other guy is got a chum bag out and he's drifting and you say, well, that's not sporty. The way I'm doing it's sporty, just
at the end of the day, our charters want to catch something and put it in the boat, and they don't really normally care how they. Sometimes you might have people say, "No, we don't want to do the green stick or something," but very rarely when it's getting tough and you can't get a bite, and you say, "Hey, we put this stick up. I bet you'll catch something." They're like, "Hell yeah, baby!"
Well, what I'm trying to get at is the lure thing with the Nomad.
Thank you.
It was like I was like totally against it. Chris, one of my mates, he put a lure out for a little dolphin, and every time it would get a bite, it would, that fish would have to swim around my dink bait and bite that thing. And he would go, lure! And then we started hearing about people getting some bites on those Nomads, catching some big eyes. So, of course, we got a couple, and we got a couple of bites. And, of course, Chris is down there going, lure!
They work.
Yeah, they work.
That's interesting. When is everybody making that move now offshore? I mean, starting to be a little more. Years ago, everybody was ballyhoo.
Yeah,
that's all we pulled was dead bait.
Yeah,
are more guys starting to come around and let's try different things?
The whole fishery is coming around. We're using kites with lures, green sticks with lures. We're trolling lures for marlin. We're trolling Nomads and.
The Nomads will sometimes pick out, they'll pick out a bite, and another thing they'll do a lot of times is they'll start a bite, like they'll, that thing's deep in the water column and one tuna will bite it and that'll make the rest of them, they'll see the ballyhoos above it and they'll come up, that'll start and then they'll finish on the ballyhoos.
Plus the ballyhoo's so expensive. It seems like, we're using
I didn't think about that. The price of ballyhoo going up because everything else is going up.
Oh, God, the worm the other day was... I crushed the yellowfins on the worms the other day.
What's a worm?
It's just like a rubber tail on just a...
The Ronzi.
Oh, yeah, I was looking on your boat the other day.
Ronzi, more or less, yeah. You put a hook through it, and I don't, when fishing gets hard, I don't think it's as good, but this time of year, oh my God, they can't stand it.
Well, wait a minute. That worm will get a bite sometimes.
Yeah,
You just have one long rigger worm out there and it'll get the bite and everything else will get nothing. And you'll be like,
And that's my kind of fishing.
you know,
He said,
then
I
you
don't
put
have to worry
two
about it
worms out there and you don't get,
I
then
put
they eat the
12 out and I
ballyhoo
never
and you
have to
think,
change-
well, maybe I ought to pull this.
I'd never change anything. I'd put all worms out there. I wouldn't have to worry. I could take a nap.
Yeah, Frenzy does.
Yeah.
I could lay
But yeah, I mean, day before yesterday, we were getting some yellowfin bites and we were bluefin fishing, so we only had big ballyhoos, you know, and so it was hard for those yellowfins. They'd bite them, but it was harder to hook them.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one worm out because the bluefins like them too, and we kept getting one on it. And I said, Joe, man, just grab a couple more and put them out on the little stuff, put them on your flat lines. And I mean, you know, went through the mark, and next thing you know, everything went down was worms, and the ballyhoos were hanging up still.
It is painful though.
Why?
Because, like, you know, you come up through
We
the
take pride
ranks
in our work.
and you know, rigging that ballyhoo just perfect, and you get that thing swimming just right, and now
You put that worm on with a damn zip tie.
anybody
You know?
could
That's what
put
I
a
did.
worm out there. I was like,
That's what when I got out of it, rigging a dredge with sassy shacks.
here,
with
my
zip tie.
perfectly rigged ballyhoo doesn't get a bite, but this worm does. I'm like, wait a minute.
I like that.
Looks like an eel. I mean, you know, sand eel, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Everything likes an eel.
Anyway, that's really cool. Glad to hear it that everything's opening up a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess it is.
We're most of us are
Open-minded.
Yeah.
Good to hear. What else?
Yeah, I mean, I love to mess with shit, and you do too. Like fishing out there, like when things are slow, and it's just fun to just, you know, try something else, you know, something different, you know, to try and get a bite. And I'd say 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work, but when it does, you know, you feel like, okay, you got a little secret on your hands. You know what I mean?
So you got trips coming up?
Yes.
I mean, both of y'all got some trips?
I got a few. He's got a good.
I got a good amount coming up,
Good.
Yeah,
And
he's got the jiggers and the poppers. He
as
won't
usual.
and
give
I
me
got
any.
some trollers too.
Yeah, he won't give me any jiggers and poppers.
As usual, this time of year, you'll lose some trips due to weather.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's most of my jiggers and poppers guys book at least 5 to 6 days,
Yeah.
hoping to make 3 or 4.
I
And
understand. That's
There used to be, and I don't know if the Japanese guys are still coming. I don't think they are as much. But there used to be a group of Japanese guys that would come, and they'd book 20 days.
Yeah.
I think. And I can remember I remember one year they only made one of them or something.
Yeah.
You know? And then I can remember a year they made like 17.
Right.
You know? So you book the trip this time of year and just, you know, be ready to get canceled. You know? It just is what it is. I got a trip on Friday that, you know, hey man, sorry, you know, we might make it, we might not, you know. We want to go. We want to go worse than they do because it's nice to make some money this time of year, you know.
all right. Do you want to bang on your chest for a second without telling the people how many fish you caught?
No, I already did.
No, tell me. Seriously, I want to hear about it. I'm changing gears. Dave has told us a lot, but I know you can't stand it. How was it in the tower? Explain the experience.
So the new thing, one of the, you know, a couple different nuances in tournament fishing now is, number one, you have the sonar. So we have the sonar, but a lot of guys are having a sonar operator now. So the captain drives the boat and they have one other guy who sits in the screen and runs the sonar, because a lot of times you'll miss stuff if you're having to drive and work the electronics and look around at the same time. So they've got a sonar operator, and then the boats have the towers, the big high towers, where the captain drives from the bridge, but everybody now has a tower guy. That's the job title, tower guy. And I don't know if it was a promotion or a demotion, but I am now the tower guy. And so basically I sit up there all day long and I look backwards at the spread. And so I am able to, hopefully, if conditions are right, see the fish, the billfish coming, identify it, tell the angler where it is as far as what rod they're on, if he's on the teaser, if he's on the flatline, if he's on the long rigger, or if he's just back there in the middle of the spread swimming around. And the theory being that you get a couple extra fish a day as the tower guy.
Did it happen? Do you think?
It did, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had some neat...
No, don't give it away.
Had some neat encounters, some different, you know, I mean, one time we hooked a mahi and we were just getting our stuff out of the way in case there were more mahi. We didn't want to ruin the baits.
Yeah.
And one guy was cranking his line and then there's a blue marlin following up his bait. I said, stop it. There's there he is, he's on you, and everybody who's down below was like, oh, it's just another dolphin. They saw his tail lit up, but nothing else. Yeah, it's just another dolphin. It ain't a dolphin. Anyway, got the bite, blue marlin.
And it was because of you.
I mean, when you got a team like that, like the rest of us got no chance.
It's not fair.
I mean, these guys are tournament.
When you have a
caliber.
What did you say? You have a
18.
sonar operator. That's all that guy does. Look at a screen all day and hit a keyboard.
You got 2 mates in the cockpit. You got like a
3.
cockpit, a mezzanine, a bridge.
3 mates.
Got
3 mates in the cockpit. Well, we have 4 anglers hold a rod all day. Then we've got a Tico mate, Jorge, who's incredible, one of the best you'll ever see. But in the Los Sueños tournaments, you can have 1 professional, and you have to have 4 amateurs as far as anglers go. So he's a mate, but he also does the pitching to the teasers. So we don't, like a lot of times, like when we're fishing here, and you just got 1 mate, if you get like a white marlin on the teaser, you're just going to crank up your dink bait,
Right.
Well, we leave everything in position in case there's another fish back there, and we throw the pitch bait to the teasers.
Right.
Because a lot of times that sailfish might come on the teaser initially, but he'll fall back to the flat line. So Jorge, he pitches to all the teaser fish. So that's his job. And then if he's hooked up, then you need another, 2 more mates to work the dredges and get the baits back going in the bucket and everything like that. The idea being that once you're done with that fish or that double or that triple, everything's back up the riggers. The dredges are refreshed. Whatever needs to be done is already done. You catch your fish. Everybody goes right back to their rods, and everything goes right back out.
So this whole scenario you're talking about reminds me of last year when the head boat won a tournament. Fishing, you can do everything right. You can have the best team, the best bait, the best boat. And then somebody's going to have their day or their week. And
completely understand.
I mean, the top 3 boats at one point in Los Sueños this week were boats that didn't have towers. And they were all old Oregon Inlet. One was the old Tar Heel, the little Tar Heel.
Oh yeah.
One was the Miss AC, which is a little Ricky boat that lives down there now, and the other one was the Grand Slam, which is the old Point Runner. And they ended up Grand Slam won the tournament.
But
so anybody can still.
But even though when you start, it is intimidating to the guys that are not rigged up with sonar operators, tower guys.
Oh yeah,
3 or 4 mates.
And we do not have a sonar operator.
Oh.
On our boat. So that which for better or for worse, John's incredible at the sonar. So you'd be hard to press to find one as good at operating it as he is.
Yeah, well,
but a lot of these guys, I'm kind of the tower guy. I get that the sonar guy. I think that should be taken out of it, just because the captain becomes a driver.
Oh yeah.
More than a fisherman. At least when he's having to work the sonar on his own, he's having to place the boat in front of the mark. Do it all himself. Whereas now, basically the operator, he's just watching the screen and driving the boat while the operator just keeps, because the sonar is not easy. I mean, you've got to range it in, when the fish gets closer, you got to shorten the range up. You got to keep the angle right, because as you approach the fish, your angle on the fish changes. So you got to work all these buttons to keep the fish.
In some point in time, there's got to be some kind of effort to say, this is enough. I see the future if you put all this into play, and then let's just get 2 drone guys.
Oh yeah.
Send drones out a mile each way off our starboard and port bow and scan the ocean for fish and birds. And when you got $1 million on the line, I see people can.
Well, and that's the thing about, and down there, there's no budget programs down there. So It's not necessarily about the money. It's about the glory.
Right.
It's about, so
But
these,
what is,
everybody's doing everything they can. They're hiring as much staff as they need to, because it doesn't matter
Right.
how much it costs. What I cost is nothing to, a lot of these boats down there. So, how far is too far? And I think like I said, the operator to me is a little bit cheesy, because that kind of takes the captain out of it.
right.
Where he's just, if he's a decent boat handler, he can drive to the fish. That sonar operator puts him right in your lap, take him right around and, get over top of him, and here he comes, But it is neat to see. I mean, John will say, okay, all right, he can tell where the fish is in the water column when we go over top of it, and if the fish held up in the spread. So he'll say, okay, he's back there probably, and a lot of times he'll call out where he is. He's probably around the right dredge, and I'll look down and say, yep, there he is on the right dredge, or there he is on the teaser. It's crazy.
Heck yeah.
Well, it's neat,
We're not there, fortunately.
Or
unfortunately at Oregon Inlet, we're not there.
Jack's getting there.
Well, yeah, I heard you're getting one. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think for what we do day in and day out, especially where we tuna fish most days, it's not going to be worth a damn, because there's so much crap in the water that you'll wind up chasing your ass. But for billfish, especially with what our bill fishing has become, it's not what it used to be. I shudder to think, remember the days where we used to have 25 to 30 white marlin bites and we didn't have sonars? How many damn fish were around then?
Yeah. But, I mean, I think it's all cycles through too.
I'm sure they'll be back.
I mean,
but we had more sailfish this year than we've
right
ever had, know. And blue marlin fishing was spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, when there's more blue marlin caught than white marlin, it's white marlin just ain't here.
We're in the realm of speculation now.
Yeah, we are.
It is what it is.
But it is what it is.
No, it ain't speculation. Those fish, I had like, what was it, 3 years ago? We were not back to the dock no later than
year
12,
before last. Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah. 2 seasons ago.
For like 6 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not talking about the past. I'm just saying speculation about what it's going to be like in the future. You don't know. You just go fishing. That's my point. You put them out and you go.
Yeah.
And you figure it out. And then you can look at it, over the course of time and figure, that was pretty good. This is what we did. We didn't have to do this. Anyway, I'm going home, man.
Yeah.
I'm going home. I am really hungry.
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't have. My wife was just yelling at me when I went downstairs, so I didn't make dinner.
That's when it started. It started.
I made dinner.
It started. His wife's already.
I stopped and got a pizza.
Good job.
All right, man. You were great. Thank you. And you had a tough one to follow. I didn't even want to bring it up.
No.
See, you followed CP.
Oh.
He was.
He's one of the world famous mates there ever was.
You did great, man. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Hope we can get you a trip out of this or something.
Yeah,
I run the Sea Deucer.
Sea Deucer. I'll give you a plug. I'll put I'll put your website up and stuff.
Perfect.
People can look at it.
My website ain't work.
Well, it doesn't matter. They know how to get in touch with you or your phone number. Anyway, Donnie D, DOA, Jack Aficionado, Misguided Fishing. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify,
Apple Podcasts.
All right, next time.
Later.
All right.
Misguided Fishing has been brought to you by TW's Bait and Tackle, Nag's Head. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll see you next time.